The Replace Component feature allows the replacement of all or some instances of a single part or subassembly directly from the assembly or part workspace. In other words, this feature allows you to replace one file, part or assembly, with another file, part or assembly. This feature can either be used from the main menu under Tools, Replace Component, or by right-clicking on the single part or subassembly, either in the Design Explorer or in the workspace, and selecting Replace Component. In this dialog box, the part cover saved will be replacing two instances of the part cylinder head cover. The features shown on the Replace Component dialog box are as follows. Open. This allows you to browse through the folders in Windows and select the single part or subassembly that you want to replace the other file with. Retain origins. When this option is selected, the origin of the new part will be inserted where the origin of the current part is. Retain center points. When this option is selected, the new part's bounding box center will be placed approximately at the same location of the original part's bounding box center. Remove constraints. The Replace Component feature is intended to be used with files that were originally created with the use of the File Save As or File Save All As commands from an existing file. If a new file is replaced with a file that was made from scratch, the constraints will most likely not get associated correctly. The silver part cylinder head cover was saved as Cover Saved. The height and color were then modified. All other aspects of the two parts are identical. To replace these two covers, right-click on one of the parts, select Replace Component, make sure the Remove Constraints box is unchecked, click on Select All Instances, click on the Open button to browse, double-click on the cover saved file to select it, then click on the OK button. When a file is replaced with another file, only the assembly constraints that are applied to the part or assembly being replaced will be affected. A comparison of the constraints of the new and old part shows that only the part names have changed. This particular simple part could also have been made from scratch, and the assembly constraints would work if the geometry was the same. When an assembly is created with File Save As or File Save All As, it should give the same results as previously shown with parts. In this example, the subassembly green piston assembly is replaced with gold piston assembly that was created with the File Save As sequence. All of the parts are the same, and all of the assembly constraints are the same, except for the subassembly names. When the subassembly is replaced, all of the assembly constraints between the subassembly and the main assembly are retained. You have just learned how to replace parts and subassemblies in a best-case scenario. For information about possible snags in this process, please see the Assembly Replace Component Worst Case tutorial.